Deck and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL, the 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here with you and Ashlyn over there. And, you know, one of the I've told you this before, and I do love this, the transition time between the Vic Porcelli and Ken show and my show, and it's one of my favorite times of the day because we just kind of chat and gossip and do all just have a little fun. It's only for like a couple minutes usually, but today, and Vic is such a cute guy. You know that? You guys know that? Because so I'm sitting there talking. We're talking about something, and I said, and Ken's sitting over there. And I said, look at Vic with all the dog hair on his sweatshirt. And he goes, well, you know, some of it's cat hair, too. I'm like, and so we're just kind of laughing about it because it is kind of funny because his sweatshirt was like covered in pet hair, which means, of course, I said, that's not a bad thing, man. It just means you love your pets. He goes, I do. I let them sleep in the laundry basket. I'm like, I go, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. Anyway, happy Tuesday to all of you. A little later on, State Representative Tricia Byrnes is going to be in. She had an interesting post this morning on Facebook because apparently some schools are still closed. And I know, what about the buses? I get it. But my goodness gracious, and apparently they're all doing computer learning, some of them in Wentzville or what have you. And she's bringing attention to this whole idea of there's seemingly a lot in the public schools particularly. There's a lot of screen learning going on. And that has been a trend. And I noticed some people, even when Tricia posted that, it was weird about how the parents were like, yeah, well, I like the computer thing because like my daughter got done with her assignment like really quickly and then just FaceTimed with their friends up until the next course. I'm like, what? And I think really honestly, a lot of it is the parents. And really it seemed like their biggest concern was how the computer learning doesn't take as long. I'm thinking, what is wrong? What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with some of these parents out there who are just simply coddling and babying their kids to this certain degree? And, My kid's off. I just didn't enjoy the snow day. It's like, you mean the second one? And then so they can't tack it on to the left or whatever. Vic just walked by the window. I wonder if he heard me. I mean, he's so sensitive. It's like it's endearing. Really, it's nothing critical. It just goes to show you're just a real guy. That's what I love about News Talk STL. We're all authentic people. I, for instance, gets a snout in my 2 hours drinking. Vic has pet hair all over him. It's just that kind of thing. It's that afternoon, people. That in the afternoon, you never know. It's going to go haywire, ladies and gents. So anyway, I think it's really the parents that are. I think that's why we have and keep in mind we do have protesters in Minneapolis. But in case you didn't know, and we've talked about this, I brought this up yesterday as well, that this is not an organic protest. This actually is an organized insurgency. It's why Minneapolis is really more of a soundstage than anything else. What, dude? I mean, he's like, hey, he's looking at me like I somehow threw him under the bus or something. He's looking at me like he's watched too many Godfather movies. I'm not scared of you. Anyway, so he's probably going to do something to me now. What do you guys think that was bad? No, it wasn't. It's a soundstage in Minneapolis. It's basically just a set up, phony soundstage. It's just like it was in Ferguson. And the news media and the politicians just keep on putting quarters into the machine and keeping it going. That's how they're doing this. And the more death for them, the better. Like, the left loves it when one of their people die because it just kind of keeps everything afloat and everything else, and they just sacrifice these people to their left-wing insurgency, commie gods, and that's how it works. And now, of course, we have people who are talking about taking up arms against tyranny, which means really they're taking up arms to defend illegal alien rapists is what they're doing. But how is that a surprise, considering how we'd see them all out in force defending bloated government? When Doge came out, they couldn't have been more pissed, but now they're pissed even more. But you know what I'm saying. So these guys never met a terrible concept or person that they won't defend. I mean, it really is incredible. But there's a reason why there aren't any of these protests around. They still pop this guy, this nurse, and who knows what. There's some new video out apparently, and that's in question, whatever. So I really can't tell by the video, and so we'll see one way or the other. We'll figure it out. So, but there's nobody else. Even after the second person was killed. You're not seeing one peep out of anybody except maybe on the internet where you've got these left-wing chicks with their pink ARs. Oh, I'm going to take up arms against tyranny. Hey, lady, arresting illegal alien rapists isn't tyranny. You know what tyranny is? Tyranny is what you guys support. Mass migration, election fraud, a bloated government, a racket that includes fraud and taxation without representation. So if anybody ought to be taking up arms against tyranny, and I've told you this before, it should be us, not them. But the reason why we don't have to get to that point is because we have President Trump, who is peacefully dismantling the tyrannical government that we are under right now. Now, it's going to take some time. I get it. But he is peacefully dismantling the tyrannical government and probably saving some of these people from public hangings. And I'm used to saying that facetiously, but you know what I mean. You have to understand that the federal government before President Trump was more tyrannical than the British Crown, and we took up arms against the British Crown. So these people acting as if they're in some kind of freedom movement because they're taking up arms in defense of illegal alien rapists are out of their minds. Now, we also have the other narrative that is going on, And that is because the news media, President Trump goes in and tries to establish a level of balance or whatever, and the news media has decided to call it a retreat. But one thing the news media isn't reporting is this is far from a retreat. Do you want to know what they talked about yesterday on the phone call between Tim Walz and President Trump? Well, let's say last night we got kind of an inkling of maybe what they talked about.
You are now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
That is the Minnesota State Patrol, my friends, arresting protesters. Now, isn't it interesting how that happened less than 12 hours after a phone call between President Trump and Tim Walz? Isn't that interesting? And yet the news media is acting as if this is some kind of retreat on the part of the Trump administration, and it most definitely isn't. This is the Minnesota State Patrol. They're not handing out donuts like the National Guard was the day before. They are making arrests of protesters. And that is on the order of Tim Walz, the governor, after the phone call. Now, how many of you saw any of that on the news? Any of that reported? They're still talking about how somehow Bovino was relieved of his duty or whatever, which didn't happen. And now the Minnesota State Patrol is making arrests. That's after the phone call with President Trump. And yet none of the major news outlets, I'm not even quite sure whether Fox News has reported on the Minnesota State Patrol making arrests. That can only happen if it's ordered by Governor Walz. And it did. So my only hope, of course, is that President Trump didn't, and I don't think he would do this, but you never know. I mean, I trust him, which is why I don't think he'd ever do this. President Trump, I hope, didn't cut some kind of deal like, hey, we won't go after the fraud too much, but I think that ship has already sailed, so we'll see. But the fact of the matter is something happened in that phone call that prompted the Minnesota State Patrol to be out there making arrests, and that didn't happen up until last night, less than 12 hours after the phone call. So that's an important thing to think about, and they were, in fact, dragging these people, making these arrests. Yeah, so they're yelling and screaming, and some of the people yelling and screaming at him. But you notice, too, they weren't throwing water bottles at them. They weren't throwing anything at them. They weren't doing any of that kind of stuff, and that's how you get order. And President Trump, he had to say something to Tim Walz to make this happen, and that absolutely did happen. In the meantime, we have some other developments regarding, for instance, the I don't know why they keep on they want to keep calling him a nurse like he's Florence Nightingale or something. And I know he's a nurse, I get it, but come on. Now the nurses union, we're going to stand up. It's like, really? So anyway, they CNN, I don't know whether you noticed it, they airbrushed his photo to make it look like he was tanner and more muscular and everything. I'm sorry, that was MSN Now. They did that. And so, I mean, this is just unbelievable. Again, I don't, and the activist group is now calling for a national shutdown on Friday. That won't happen. We'll have probably about 200 idiots from St. Louis on the bridge across Highway 40 near the zoo, and that's going to be about the extent of the national shutdown. You'll have all these idiots making an excuse not to go to work, and that's how it's going to work. But nonetheless, this isn't catching on. This isn't taking hold, and they're trying their hardest to make this a bigger deal. They're probably hoping for at least one other of them to die so that they could keep this going. And now Kash Patel is also saying that they are I got to tell you, though, and I realize, listen, these things take time. I get it. I understand, and can't have everything at once, whatever. But I'm so sick of people talking about, we're investigating this and we're investigating that. This isn't really super hard to investigate. Signal, the FBI, these people have all kinds of options available to them to tap in to the Signal chats and to run some operations that will identify who these people are and arrest them for incitement and conspiracy and everything else. So at some point, I love Kash Patel, but man, I want to hear more talk and more action. That's what I want to hear eventually. That's all. We're noticing also that there's been a little bit of a streamlining of the communication, which I think is super important. The other day, I think it was yesterday, Sean Duffy was arguing with somebody about this Minneapolis stuff. And I'm like, you're the transportation secretary. We got to get some kind of lid on the number of people who are speaking on behalf of the administration. Again, I love these guys, but somebody kind of needs to tell somebody to shut up and let us handle it and streamline it, because it's getting kind of frustrating to watch the transportation secretary and the commerce secretary making themselves available for interviews about Minneapolis. I mean, we got to grow up here fast. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, super happy to be with you, and happy Tuesday.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call to John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or STLWindowsandDoors.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
This is one of the more horrifying commentaries I've ever done. I considered ignoring it. You wouldn't even know if I had hidden it. But it must be told. To begin with, it's not my story. It's an article by Lauren Hirschberger at The Federalist, writing as a 911 responder, sharing horror stories of mail-order abortions. Now, before we continue, I don't know what view, if any, you have of an abortion, much less mail-order abortions. My views against both. But listen to the stories and make your judgment. Lauren writes, I got a call from a 17-year-old I'd known since she was 12. She was pregnant. Her boyfriend said, get an abortion. She couldn't afford it. He suggested drink rubbing alcohol. Another from a teenage boy saying he had just put 2 pills into his girlfriend's vagina. Do I need to put in another one? Do you see how little information these kids are getting? They might still manage to kill the unborn baby or themselves or both. As the Federalist author asked, how many women and children deaths are acceptable? Pray for all of them.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
I don't understand. It's warm in the studio right now. It's 71, but it seems warmer. And then it's set at 60, which is weird. And I'll have to figure that out during the next break because there's something wrong, I think, with the thermostat, or maybe it's actually not even on heat. I mean, I don't know what it is. Because I have trouble staying warm, and so when I'm warm, that means something's wrong. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, 3 martini lunch. Ashton over there. So this is super interesting, and I don't know whether you guys have seen the criminal complaints regarding the church invasion, and man, when you look at the readout on the charges and the details of what really happened there, it is far worse than anybody has reported or anybody could imagine. And you guys, last week I did play you a videotape with this Kelly character and everything else. And so I played you some of the sound where this person was virtually, really harassing people. This poor young couple was terrorized by the guy. There were little kids there. But if you read the complaint, it is a lot worse than anybody imagined. And so what some of the demonstrators did, which is why there really shouldn't be only 3 indictments here. I'm surprised every single one of those people isn't in jail. They should be. And what they did was they went in, and of course, that one beast from Black Lives Matter claimed they were worshiping along with the people, and that's a total lie. First of all, she went on CNN, and CNN let her say it. But what they did was the kids. There would have been more kids in the congregation, but they were all at Sunday school. You know how that is when you go to church. When you were little kids, you go off to Sunday school somewhere else in the church. Well, what they did was, and they're apparently in a basement, so they were down some stairs, and what some of the protesters did was block the children from going up and reuniting with their parents. They stood at the top of the stairs and kept the children from leaving their Sunday school to go and get to their parents in the church itself, and other doors were blocked and that kind of thing. And then proceeded to scream and yell that it's not a house of God, but a house of the devil. That's what they did. And there's even more. There were some of these young couples who were absolutely terrified. They were parents who once they were able to wind up with their kids, they ran out of the church. I mean, it was truly a terrorizing moment that was not just a protest and not just any of this other garbage these people are talking about. So interestingly enough, when CNN decided to do an interview, and this really is so infuriating. I wish that religious leaders would stop being whores for the left. And when they are that way, it is infuriating and it is gut punching. And so Catholic Cardinal Blaise Kupich of Chicago and Episcopal Bishop Rob Hirschfeld were being interviewed by Dana Bash on CNN. And would you think that Dana Bash, since she had two clerics on her show with her, you would think that Dana Bash would at least find some time to ask them about the church invasion and what they thought about that, the church attack. But they didn't do that. She didn't do that, and they didn't bring it up.
You, the President of the United States is not a Catholic, but the Vice President is, as you well know. I'm wondering if you got any response from either the Vice President's office or really anybody else in the administration.
Yeah, don't you love it when the news media tries to pit Catholic leaders to Catholics when Dana Bash wouldn't know a church if it crawled up her pants leg. And in fact, I think she's Jewish. I don't know, but I think she is. So anyway, but don't you love it when people who aren't even religious decide that they're going to try to start a fight between people of faith? It's just there are no words really to describe how vile this kind of behavior is. And so what she's trying to do is she's trying to get this bishop to attack Catholic Vice President J.D. Vance, trying to get the Catholic bishop to call him out so they can have some news. And the next headline will be Catholic bishop calls out J.D. Vance.
I have not personally. Can't speak for the other two. The person who's closest would be Cardinal McElroy in Washington, but I have not.
If you could give a message.
Let's just pretend then that J.D. Vance responded to you. Say something anyway. And that's where she comes. I'm telling you what, if you have not established that the national news media is the true enemy of the people, what is going to convince you that these individuals are cancers on this society and are fomenting conflict and everything else? What else do you need to know after seeing this interview or hearing it? So Dana Bash is now trying to get the bishop to say something to J.D. Vance if he was having a conversation with him. Since J.D. Vance didn't get back to him, well, let's just pretend that J.D. Vance is there. What would you say to him? And people, listen, I've said this before, and I've been around journalists before because I've been in the business for a long time. For most of these people in the media, it's a confidence game. They are snakes. They are tricksters. They're connivers. They're dumber than lawyers, so they kind of can't really do it with any kind of finesse. So lawyers at least know how to kind of extract information and ask pertinent questions to do certain things and that kind of thing. But unfortunately, most people in the media have very low IQs. It's why they're there. And so they're trying to manipulate, for instance, an answer from this bishop and
directly to the vice president, who obviously is a man of deep faith. What would it be?
So again, this kind of manipulation and this kind of artificial news that they're basically creating. So they're creating something from something they don't have. So they're kind of playing almost like a stage game. This is like a play, and so Dana Bash is writing a script right now that essentially pits the bishop up against J.D. Vance.
I would say this to all elected officials. Let's make sure that we understand that peace is a great gift we should not squander. It should be the priority that we pursue rather than dominance over another nation.
Oh, okay. And again, I don't know what he's talking about, the dominance over another nation and that nonsense. But it's interesting how the people who are actually defending the rule of law, which is completely and totally biblically supported, are the ones who are not peaceful, and the people who are attacking the defenders of the rule of law are the peaceful ones. Now, how twisted do you really have to be a news anchor and a bishop to position the story that way? And how irresponsible is it when a person like a bishop will go on and actively support the violation of the law? And for the Catholic Church, which, by the way, Catholic Charities is the #1 NGO that was part of the human trafficking cabal that brought millions of people into this country. So the Catholic Church and the Democrats both had the same idea when it comes to shipping in warm bodies and making sure they're here. The Catholic Church needs more warm bodies. They need more people in the church. They need more people to support the church and do whatever. So for the Catholic Church, illegal immigration is fantastic for them because they use it the same way the Democratic Party does, and it is the Democrat Party is able to gain voters through bribing them with government money and then registering them, and they gain voters, which is why everybody in the Democrat Party is so viciously anti-ICE, because it's ruining their chances of doing well in the midterms and winning an election from here on out. I explained this a while back with the Somalis in Minnesota. So you've got roughly more than 100,000 Somalis. All of them vote Democrat. And so when you've got somebody who is chipping into that core constituency, so to speak, your power is going to go away because real Americans aren't really voting for you. Independents aren't going to vote for the Democrat Party. Some Democrats aren't going to vote for the Democrat Party. So the only people you have are the ones who are like the dumbest of the dumb, or the ones who are basically being paid off, essentially, with government money to do it, because the Democrat Party doesn't really have anything to offer anybody. And most people understand that. So, if anything, the Democrats who are still wanting to be liberal will probably go more on the socialist end. At least they have something to offer, which is crazy, but it's something to offer. So the Catholic Church has a similar proclivity, which is why they're out in support of illegal alien rapists. Why else would you be? There'd be no other reason. So what they do is they team up here, like with the news media, and try to shame Catholics and people like J.D. Vance because of their wanting to enforce the law, and because enforcing the law is a threat to them. It's probably a threat to CNN viewership too. So you've got the Democrat Party, CNN viewership, and the Catholic Church all hanging in the balance unless they keep criminal, illegal alien rapists on the street.
Military force or the request, the decision to dominate over another country. We have a consensus since the Second World War about how we settle differences, but also how we respect integrity of other nations. The same message would go to leaders in other countries that.
So this guy's talking about the other part of the other countries, but the reality is, with the deportations and everything else, this is just in a situation where it's hard to believe that these individuals haven't stood up for the rule of law. Here's another one.
The White House, as is their wont, has doubled down.
This is the Episcopal bishop. So it's really interesting how the news media loves to interview like religious leaders when they're doing their bidding, when they're attacking conservatives or when they're attacking Trump or whatever. Like these people would have nothing to do with religion on any other in any other situation. So what they do is they invite these guys on who are willing props in their propaganda game. And it's like this woman who's interviewing this Episcopal bishop, wouldn't, again, know a church if it crawled up her pants leg, and she knows it. And so they pretend to care about faith. This is so funny.
They issued a statement saying, no one should follow advice encouraging them to commit crimes. Anyone who interferes with federal law enforcement operations is committing a crime and will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. That comes from Abigail Jackson, who's a White House spokesperson. What do you respond to that?
Yeah, what do you respond to that, Episcopal bishop? I'm sure you don't like what that person just said, do you?
I think those who are showing up in Minneapolis and who may show up in other places, simply, we have a freedom of assembly. We have freedom of speech. Those are not crimes.
Yeah, interesting. So there's another example of where you had another bishop being interviewed by another news anchor, and they talk about freedom of assembly of people, for instance, like a nurse with a gun. And not once do they ask them about the church invasion and how they feel about that. Like normally you would want to talk to somebody like, do you think this was okay? Because the news media thinks that was okay. And even when they have religious people on, they won't ask them about it.
They shouldn't be in this country. Freedom to exercise our religion. I don't see the crime.
Yeah. And it's interesting, freedom to exercise a religion did not happen for the people at that church in St. Paul. And yet those people, like I told you when it first happened, I said, people, watch out because you're on your own. You won't have local police helping you there, except now, of course, the Minnesota State Patrol's there. But with that church invasion, I'm like, you're on your own. The news media didn't care about you guys in the church. Religious leaders didn't care about you in the church. The bishop from Chicago wasn't even asked about it, hasn't even mentioned anything about it. The bishop in the Episcopal Church, in fact, is defending the protesters and not saying one thing. And so it's a very precarious situation for a lot of people, knowing that when everything kind of hits the fan, you're technically on your own, except for President Trump, which I think is a formidable defense, I must say. Well, Representative Tricia Byrnes is not happy about some of the public schools deciding that the minute snow hits the ground, they're going to take a week off practically. And we'll follow up on that. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
All right, so I talked to Mike Marino at Santino's Cigars and Cocktails when I was down there about 2 Fridays ago. And it was a ton of fun, and we talked about possibly having a little Radio Free Allman Report party down there. I know Amy had suggested maybe we all meet down there. You guys would love the place. The food is great. I mean, listen, I'm going to talk about the cigars, and I'm going to talk about the drinking and all that kind of stuff there. But he and his team made me a couple pizzas, and I never really have had Sicilian-style cooking that I know of, really. And so I got a Sicilian-style sausage pizza. And the sausage was – I had saw somebody else eating some meatballs, a meatball dish, which really looked good, by the way. And the sausage was something I'd never tasted before. And I guess you guys might know better than I do if you're steeped in some Italian cooking. But Sicilian sauce I didn't know was so darn good. Like, it's sweet, and it's got a little heat to it. And so this is all handmade and homemade Tuesday through Saturday, lunch and dinner at Santino Cigars and Cocktails. SantinoCigarCocktails.com is the website. So it's really Santino Cigars and Whiskey, but that's the website. So I would encourage you, I mean, even if you haven't had lunch yet, drop in there today and order a pizza. They're really good. Or take one home, whatever it happens to be. It's really good. I was really kind of surprised, but not surprised because Mike is a great host. He is, to a certain degree, a perfectionist. When he does something, it is go big or stay home. And so what you get here is a large humidor. And, again, he told me about it. I walk in there. I'm like, this is a large humidor. It's like another separate restaurant practically. It's really cool. Hundreds of brands of cigars, pipes, pipe tobaccos, accessories. Some cigars 7 to 9 years old. Some of these cigars no one else in town can get. He uses a filtration system they use in Las Vegas at the casino, so it's really super cool. Separate wine room and bar that's non-smoking, so you can enjoy selection of liquor or wine if you want to avoid the smoke. And the staff is fantastic, great knowledge there, multiple TVs, so you're never missing a sports game, 2 cozy fireplaces. They have a membership program if you want a kind of a cigar locker or whatever. They have that thing, and the member lockers are inside, the controlled humidor, and the lowest costs around for all that. And then their cocktails, some of the best in town. So they use recipes that take classic drinks and they will balance them to perfection. I had some really good tequila there that you're not going to find anywhere else. And also an Italian beer that I have not had before, and it was really super good. Check it out, SantinoCigarCocktails.com. It's right off of 55, the Imperial exit, SantinoCigarCocktails.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives. It's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Jamie Allman here, happy to be with you. I got to tell you, after my trip was canceled to California to see the Grandgirls, one of the problems was not just getting out, it was getting back. So technically, I was supposed to be coming back today, and people are backed up all over the joint. Like Joey here at the station, stuck in Dallas right now, and I don't know whether he's doing Southwest, because I was doing Southwest, so you get stuck there. That's the hub, and so I guess it was kind of like, there's time. I'm going to go see the babies again. I'm just, in April, but there was a chance I wasn't going to make it back. It wasn't even about getting there. So, back in time at least, And so, because what happens is when I talk to the Southwest person, this is kind of interesting. I actually like Southwest. In fact, my trip back, I was going to have assigned seating because it was the first day for assigned seating for Southwest Airlines, which is pretty cool, and I'm really happy about that. Because that whole thing about trying to get, I used to try to pay extra to get a thing because I can't stand being really way back. But yeah, they are. It would have been assigned seating on the way back. It was. First come, first serve, whatever the hell it was, on the way there, and then it was assigned seating on the way back. So I was going to be one of the first people to use assigned seating on Southwest. Anyway, when I talked to the lady on the phone, and that's one thing I also like about Southwest, I have to tell you honestly, is they do answer the phone. Like when you call them, you do talk to somebody, which is pretty cool. Anyway, I asked her about the prospects of getting home, too. That was before it was officially off. Like, my trip there was officially off. And so she said, well, we can't really guarantee all that because what happened is we have all these cancellations, and what happens to people who have current trips, you kind of go to the back of the line, like, because we still have a schedule of scheduled flights, and the cancellation flights are kind of catch-up flights, and so you're automatically kind of in the back of the line. Like if somebody has a flight scheduled for Monday, because you were canceled on Friday, doesn't mean you're going to be the first on a plane Monday. You're going to be the last on a plane Monday. That crazy? A lot of weird things going on, too. I finally found out, I think I found out what happened with that post that I put up that had the big, brave Antifa general who also likes to wear a dress. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that if you're going to be a big tough guy and talk about taking up arms against people, it's something kind of It takes the teeth out of your menace when I see you in a dress and earrings. I just kind of. And so I posted, I said, hey, well, big brave Antifa general wants to start a civil war once he decides what to wear. I put that out there. It got tons of response, thousands of people. Some of them were a little bit. I didn't want to kind of engage in the whole, making fun of gay people or doing whatever. That wasn't my purpose. It was really just the fact that he was, playing Mr. Tough Guy and everything else. And so then by the morning, it disappeared. It went away. And so I was trying to figure out, well, I didn't take it off. So what happened with it? And if Facebook takes it off, they'll give you some kind of warning or something, I thought. Well, apparently now, since Facebook has supposedly changed, they're supposed to be more open and more this, and I happen to believe that a lot of the things, the response was bot-oriented because Facebook loves it when you get engagement, and sometimes they'll push engagements, even if it's not sometimes even real. Anyway, they got what they wanted, because I noticed I didn't pick up one follower from all that, so I was thinking, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, I looked it up and went on Reddit and everything else. It turns out that sometimes Facebook will delete a comment, but it goes into a trash bin where it's finally deleted 30 days after the trash bin. So it can go away and it's still there, but it's in a trash bin. And so you don't really know until 30 days later it's absolutely gone. But by that time, it's just kind of gone, and they don't have to tell you why. So it's weird. I have not had a bad experience with Facebook. I in fact really have appreciated Facebook a lot. My Radio Free Allman brand was alive and well for a couple years there on Facebook, so no complaints there. But that was a new one. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report, the 3 Martini Lunch. Happy Tuesday.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's office.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Duck and goose season still on, and Whistle Pig Outdoors has everything you need to finish strong. Hey, it's Mike Ferguson, and right now get 40% off all Taka hunting clothing in Mossy Oak Bottomland. Bow broken? Well, their Archery Pro Shop sells Hoyt and Bear bows, custom arrows, and they provide expert service. Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main Street in Troy, or visit whistlepigoutdoors.com. Whistlepigoutdoors.com. Whistle Pig, get back out there.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington.
The NTSB has been holding a day-long hearing that should make it clear what caused that mid-air collision that killed 67 people near Washington, D.C. last year. Here's correspondent Julie Walker.
Board member Todd Inman, in opening remarks, said to family members, "I'm sorry, we should not be here."
These were systemic issues across multiple organizations, and I think, as you'll see, we will place a lot of the information that you're going to hear on those responsible organizations and hopefully make recommendations so that this never happens again.
That's what Tim Lilly, whose son Sam died in the crash, wants.
What we're really looking for is action that can prevent any families from having to go through this.
The NTSB is recommending additional action. Whether that happens depends on Congress, the Army, and the Trump administration. I'm Julie Walker.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Minnesota's Democrat leaders are to blame for the protester deaths.
This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets.
Still no thaw in parts of the south as a fresh blast of Arctic air keeps much of the region gripped by snow and ice. Perla Chinchilla is a cashier at Tacos El Gordo in Little Rock, Arkansas, says business has been slow.
We love it when we're busy. For this winter, it's been pretty slow. In the summertime, we usually pick up business, but we'd appreciate if, you're hungry, come get some food.
The storm brought more than a foot of snow from Arkansas to New England, halting traffic, canceling thousands of airline flights, and triggering wide school closures on Monday. On Wall Street right now, the Dow is off 452 points. More from townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Now that we're finally into the new year, a lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in 2026. Now's the perfect time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. If you want to lower your mortgage payment, they can help you refinance. If you need access to cash for home improvements or to wipe out high-interest debt, their fixed-rate line of credit is one of the best tools out there. Fast approval, predictable rate, and flexibility to use your home's equity wisely. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. Imagine starting big projects or paying down debt with 2 months of breathing room. My family and I have used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Take control of 2026. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. That's 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. DBA Fellowship Home Loans. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Hey, it's not a bad day out there. The sun is shining. We're going to get up close to the freezing mark, but we'll still melt some snow on pavement because the sun's heating that pavement up a little bit. So a high near 30 degrees this afternoon, but it's going to get cold again tonight, down to the single digits, and the wind chills will be below 0. Back up to around 30 again tomorrow, but there are some colder days ahead as we head toward the weekend. I'm First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey, Jamie Allman here. When your car needs attention, trust who I trust. Benchmark Complete Auto in Valley Park. 25 years as a family-owned and operated company, Benchmark is your Napa Auto Care Center for nearly every maintenance and repair, using the latest technology and top-quality parts. Need help with the bill? Well, ask about Napa's Easy Pay financing. Mention Jamie Allman and News Talk STL and get 10% off. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. It is the 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here with you. Ashton over there. Common Sense Radio. You name it. You love it. So, President Trump has stepped in, and so is Tom Homan, and they're like, all right. Enough is enough. Christie, Stephen Miller, Scott Bessent, Sean Duffy, Kash Patel, you guys are going to have to shut up for a little bit here. Enough is enough. Even Bovino, it's like too many people talking about this. And for a consequential event like that, with a death, message discipline is vitally important, and to have all these people out there running their mouths, and I love him. I love those guys, right? Okay, I get it. But you got to have some order. And so President Trump finally said, look, I'm going to put Homan in there, and I'm going to talk to Walz. Homan is going to talk to Walz. And then 8 hours after that discussion, you are
now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
The Minnesota State Police are arresting people outside of that hotel that they tried to raid and everything else. And so the engagement of the Minnesota State Police is a huge advance. And it only could have happened if Walz did it. So this is far from a retreat, as the news media is calling it. This is a reorganization and a settling, and I believe an offer that Walz could not refuse as well. So lots of things are changing there. I kind of wish it happened earlier, but, I think President Trump was wise to finally kind of come in and scatter the cats and get some big dog thing going here, and that's exactly what happened. And, of course, the news media, though, you haven't really seen in the mainstream media the visions of the Minnesota State Police arresting people. The Minnesota State Police were nowhere to be found. The day before, the Minnesota National Guard was handing out donuts to the protesters. Not anymore. So that's the end of that. And now even the tough guy, the guy who was talking about arming people and going after the ICE guys, now he's basically on the run. Remember the guy who said, he's the guy with the dress, right? I'm not running away. Come on down. Join me in this fight. Get up the arms. Now he's on the run and begging for money.
The video I posted from the Alex Preddy murder, calling for direct action, calling for boots on the ground, calling for someone to stand against these murderers, was deemed inciting violence, and they're being bullied by the administration. Clearly, I don't think that they're going to let him take my account down. But
yeah. So something's going on with this guy. If you've, and I'm sure many of you have seen his videos, right? Oh yeah, he's a big chest beating Antifa guy. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. Now he's huddled in some restaurant someplace, begging for money, and saying, "I'm not gonna run, but I am on the run."
I don't know what they're going to do, man. They're going to silence me somehow, and they're having a hard time putting a bullet in my head, so we shall see what they do to get the job done. I have a backup account in my bio. I am basically on the run now.
Yeah, now and on the run and begging for money. He's now asking people for money, which probably was what this was all about to begin with, was him asking for money because he's the big Antifa general / princess in when he feels like it.
You know, I have safe places and I have evacuations planned out, but the way things are going, I'm going to have to be very resourceful, and that's going to take support. So, you know, thank you a million times to those of you who have. We were able to deploy over 100 gas masks on the streets.
Anyway, I imagine in a couple days we might see him going the same way that we saw that Kelly character, and that is suddenly seeing him in handcuffs being led away because he was calling for armed action against ICE, and that is true. Other developments, ladies and gentlemen? Well, seems like there are some things. How's the news media going to address this? Because they're really focused on. And again, I don't know what happened with Preddy. I know that now they're resorting to AI images of him being executed. MS now is resorting to colorizing his picture and cleaning up his hair and tanning his skin to make him look, I guess, sexier in his nurse's outfit. But the fact of the matter is the parents of Alex Preddy say their son quit his hospital job months ago and had shown unusual behavior recently. He seemed to have joined some kind of group. Yeah. Remember yesterday I was wondering whether or not this guy was trained by those people who were training and announcing it on the internet and through Signal, training the protesters. You wonder what kind of group he was really part of. Because this is where we're getting to the possibility of having, and this is where I want to hear Kash Patel talk, and that is about investigating the racketeering that has been going on in Minneapolis that has created an insurgency that is not organic at all. It's actually just a bought, paid for insurgency is what it is. And you wonder whether or not he was one of those individuals who was being trained or a trainer. He said, they said, we warned him 2 weeks ago, protest if you want, but don't engage, don't do anything stupid, his father, Michael, said. He said he understood, but it wasn't until police pulled messages from Alex's phone that the truth began to emerge and what investigators found. It seems that Preddy's parents didn't want him participating. It seems Preddy allegedly scrubbed his social media presence one day prior to his actions leading to his death. When you make decisions based on emotions, you make poor decisions. He made bad decisions. And reports said Preddy did not have an ID or his permit with him, and he was carrying, apparently he wasn't carrying really actually legally. So again, I don't know what happened. I am just going to tell you, I can look at the video a million times from a million different angles. I'll let the investigation play out, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, whatever they're creating Preddy to be is an illusion. And is the news media going to report the fact that he hasn't been a nurse for months? So they keep showing this. They're in their minds, Preddy just left, a hospital hallway after working all night and then going and confronting ICE on behalf of the illegal alien rapies. And that's just not true. So whatever the case is, and yet the media, even when they're even doctoring his nurse's picture. So they're creating. It's kind of like when they did Michael Brown. When after that incident, the hands up, don't shoot lie and everything else. They decided the picture they were all going to use is Michael Brown in his graduation gown. Now again, I'm not insinuating that Preddy is a Michael Brown character. I'm not insinuating any of that. He did confront the police officers. He was armed. I do think that Stephen Miller, whoever said he was on his way to massacre people, was totally irresponsible, and especially since Stephen Miller didn't know. I mean, and that's the worst part of this, is that there were a lot of people saying things when they didn't know, and that's a problem. And you'll notice that, and it's interesting how, they're trying to go after the administration on this, but you did notice President Trump pretty much kept his cards really close to his vest throughout this entire thing. You did notice that, right? And I'm not quite sure whether he just said, well, you guys can go out and talk about it, but I'm not. I don't know. That was probably a mistake. But, because when you have the Commerce Secretary engaging an anchor on one of these stupid Sunday shows about a shooting in Minneapolis, that's not the case. Like I said I think it was yesterday, saw Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, arguing about the shooting. It's like, okay, let's get this all together. So anyway, this story that about Preddy is slowly but surely kind of falling apart. And it doesn't mean, in the end, it doesn't mean that he deserved to die. I'm just saying that whatever Preddy is being presented as in order to kind of burnish his image and make him more of a victim than perhaps he even was is just a bunch of truly fake news. And the fact that his parents have said that he quit his nursing job months ago means he's not a nurse. Okay, so that's pretty much true. I guess you could technically say he's a nurse by trade, which is why the media will keep calling him a nurse. So I guess technically nurse by trade, whatever. And boy, nurses are sure showing up. I mean, all the nurses I know are really nice and great people. I don't know where these other nurses are coming from. That labor and delivery nurse, and there's a nurse in Virginia. Then there's another like that doctor. Like, what is it about the medical profession? I thought, I don't know. Do you guys know crazy people in the medical field? Because the people I know in the medical field are fairly stable individuals, but I guess there takes all kinds. If some of you are I'm sure you guys who work in the medical field probably know a few whack jobs. It's like any industry, I'm sure. And there are a lot of people, but man, they're all coming out. Julie says her nurse is a sweet one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never had a really bad experience with doctors or nurses that I could recall. But the ones on the internet now are like, wow, chick, what's wrong with you? And then the guys, although there was that one doctor, what was he, a dentist or something that murdered his, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. Anyway, Kash Patel says there are investigations into these organizations. I think the next, oh, yeah, that's right, Julie, your son. Of course. What am I thinking? Yes. So what I'm saying is, I would want to hear more about these investigations. I have no doubt that that there's going to be a situation where I think it's going to turn out that he was, if not a trainer of some of these protesters. He was a trainee of some of these protesters and linked to Signal and everything else. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the fact that he scrubbed his social media before this confrontation, I don't know what that means. I don't know how that works. I don't know whether he was actually, suicide by cop type of guy. I have no idea. All I do know that the death of one of them, they like that. Like that's a good thing for them because it bolsters their cause, and so if anything, throwing out Renee Good out there to the wolves like her beast of a wife did, and setting her up for death doesn't surprise me. Now she's a millionaire now anyway. And then this guy, who knows? But Kash Patel says they're definitely investigating this whole Signal operation. Again, this is obviously not an organic protest. It's not going on anywhere in any other place but the sound stage created in Minneapolis by the news media, by Antifa and their commie sugar daddies, and the Democrats, Tim Walz and the mayor.
Okay, so this is breaking news. So you and the FBI and perhaps other intelligence agencies are fully aware of this coordinated effort to attack federal law enforcement, to impede them and potentially insurrect. And so there is now an open investigation into these chats and into this coordinated network.
Yeah, what
some
I
of them are are
say.
some of them
Sorry.
are fleeing. Some of them are very scared now. You can see their chats. They're very, very worried now that they have been exposed.
Well, they should be. If they broke the law, you should be worried. It's that simple. If you didn't break the law, there's really nothing to worry about on that front. And so, we're going to continue, as I've said from day one, we will protect law enforcement. We will make sure they have the security and safety to do their jobs. We will also ensure that civilians have the ultimate protection of the First and Second Amendment. But it is my job to adjudicate the difference when there is a breaking of federal statute or state law in the furtherance of a crime or violence against law enforcement officers. And that's when we step in.
Yeah, there you go. Glad. It's going to turn out this is one big conspiracy. Democrats, Antifa, Soros. That's actually just a racket. And, by the way, the news media willingly propping it up and furthering the stage play. This is 2020, this is 2017, 18, 19, and 20 all over again. You notice there wasn't any of this in 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now we're back at it. And it's all because President Trump is President of the United States. That's all it is. None of it is real. Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report, the 3 Martini Lunch on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
News, analysis, and opinion.
We've been on the ground in Minnesota conducting criminal investigations to a lot of these suspected fraud sites.
You don't come outside of operational hours and then say they're using taxpayer money. That's completely false.
You obviously can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth.
When they shut down the government, they did that because they wanted us to continue business as usual. Money going out the door.
This ICE is on the ground there trying to restore some sanity.
1019 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here in Ashland over there. And Representative Michael Burton, thank you. I think you're right, man. I think at some point, a lot of this was making, even if we're right or left, but not nuts, it was making some of us a little uncomfortable. Because the Trump administration lost control of the aftermath of this because you had so many of these gunslingers out there just saying stuff that wasn't true or that was inflated or whatever. And, so I too am glad President Trump stepped in, and I'd love to know what he and Governor Walz talked about. But it did result in the Minnesota National Guard, Minnesota State Police making an arrest yesterday. But I do think that, we all, a lot of us, Democrat and Republican, and, a lot of us who are, outspoken, let's say. We love to get at it and wrestle and be jocular and be assertive and doing all this kind of stuff, but something that like we're watching now or that we were watching, we're like, we're not that serious about this stuff. You know what I mean? So it just kind of becomes one of those things where we all started to become kind of sucked into this. And thankfully, not to the point where people were, like normal people were actually starting to like fight with each other or at each other's necks. But I think cooler heads are now prevailing, and I'm glad that that's happening. So. Again, I like these guys, but there's no reason why they had to have your Commerce Secretary and your Transportation Secretary and Stephen Miller, whatever he's doing, all just running their mouths all the time. It's like about this. Nobody. It's like, we love Trump, but we not that. Sorry. Anyway, I was watching a little bit of Facebook today, and Tricia Byrnes, who is running for Collector of Revenue out there in St. Charles County, but is also a state representative, and Wentzville is included in that district. And she had an interesting post up today about this these so-called AM sessions. I'm presuming that was related to yet another day that some schools were called off. And but in general, the point I think was, Representative Byrnes, that this is just another example of a continued seeming reliance on remote remote learning and computer learning and all this kind of stuff. And I know you, and that's kind of what you were calling out. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining.
Hi, thanks. This is Trish Byrnes, and I really appreciate you having me on. So my whole point this morning, and I obviously was really frustrated, was, hey, we don't want to call it a snow day. And now every grade's probably different, but my particular kid in middle school, he was getting just about every hour, the teachers were shooting off emails saying, you got to log on to the computer and do whatever, get your assignment. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. We are teaching our kids, here we're going to just do this mediocre work so we can act like it's an educational day and check that box and be done with it. And that's why I'm saying, hey, this has got to stop. Our education scores are the lowest they have been in 30 years. And now we're teaching kids to just do fluffy little nonsense so we can pretend like we did the work, which really goes into my bill that says we need to bring back books and traditional methods of education in K through 5 and stop doing these shortcuts in order to educate kids.
Yeah, Tricia,
and that is my whole message.
Yeah, Tricia Byrnes, state representative, and I'm so happy that you brought this up because it was really interesting because I looked at some of the comments on because you made a video, which is cool, and then some of the comments though I think spoke to the problem, to tell you the truth, because some of the parents were like, well, I like it when my kid does that because they're done with their courses really fast. And then like my daughter once got it done in 15 minutes and spent the rest of the time on FaceTime with her friends before the next class. I'm thinking, that is a problem, you know?
Right. Yeah, that is a mindset we're teaching kids. You know, let's just hop on our computer. Let's just check our box. Let's just call that done and move forward. And that's not what we need to be doing. So how it relates back to my bill is, and I'll give you a little back history. So my son in 2023, he's in 6th grade coming out of COVID, and it was disastrous for a lot of those kids.
Yeah.
And he's dyslexic, right? And he had one-on-one with assistive technology, and I was like, that's fantastic. I thought it meant he had a substitute teacher and yada, yada. No, that meant it was one child to one device. And then I asked, well, what about his handwriting samples, right? We're finally catching some of these basic things, you know, and because we also had that nonsense whole word reading, right? And they've said, oh, no, he's fully contained in a Chromebook. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, he doesn't pick up a pencil at all. I'm like, what does he do for handwriting class? And they said, oh, we teach him speech to text. And I was outraged. I'm like, wait a second, what's your plan for that? You know, how's he going to learn to write and spell? And they're like, well, he really doesn't have to worry about it. Kids these days really could they have their cell phone with them all the time, so they don't need to learn to write or spell. They have Grammarly and spell check.
Oh.
And now capture that piece. Isn't that exactly what was happening in those comments today?
Yeah.
We don't really have to really work. Let's just go ahead, check a box, call it a day. We have shortcuts. And it is absolutely ruining their brain. So when they tried to cyborg my kid, I went and I asked, are we gone too far in education, tech and education? And you got to know, my background through the 90s, gosh, for like 2 decades, I was in tech. I was on some of the teams that invented some of the stuff we still use today on the internet. I am not afraid of tech, and I have a master's in education. But I knew there was a paradigm shift that we might need to go back the other direction. And sure enough, first thing I saw was a report from Stanford University. And it was a professor who was an expert in technology and education. And he said, I would love to say that what we have done is helping kids, but in fact, we're slowly poisoning them. The science is truly there. This is not Trish Byrnes' opinion, although I do have an educated opinion, but this is not my opinion. The science is there. We are showing that the brain is not developing the way it should for early literacy using screens. In fact, the screens are so bad, and they're being introduced in kindergarten and even in preschool, and they're gamifying these foundational skills. We have OT teachers coming in and saying they're having to teach kids how to use spoons and forks because their hands aren't even developing. So bottom line is the facts are there. our results are worse than they were in education back in 1998. We've gone completely the other direction when everyone thinks we're turning these kids into geniuses, and it's impacting behavior, focus, mental health, and ultimately the basics for literacy.
Yeah, and what you're doing, Tricia Byrnes, is you're just at this point, you're also at the same time lowering standards. So you don't know so there's no way sometimes down the line of proving that this absence of hands-on teaching is actually bad for them because you've already lowered the bar, and so you're not going to notice much failure at that level. And let me ask you real quickly, because I don't need you to get into a big fight with the commentators, but what I noticed is a lot of these commenters are parents. So I'm thinking, why would a parent want their child to do less and not more, or at least not as much? It doesn't really make any sense to me.
Well, some of it I'm running for collector, and I think some of it, honestly, is political.
Yeah.
Some of it may be their opinion, but sometimes it's political.
Yeah.
Here's where their head's just going to pop right off their shoulders. I am working with a bipartisan team. This is not a partisan issue. This is something both sides of the aisle need to get behind. We will be the third. If we could get this passed, we'll be the third state. If we would have done it when I brought this up in 2023, we would have been the first. We have foreign countries. Let's see. We have Sweden and France and Finland as countries. They're reducing the screen times in education. But here we are, and you saw it. We're defending giving iPads to sixth graders because somehow we believe that will make a world-class programmer. But I got news. As I told you, I work with people from Silicon Valley. They do not allow their kids to learn with screens. They have books, pens and papers, and the basics, because that is the bottom line of the building blocks of literacy.
I did notice, by the way, because I did look at the comments, because I was really interested in some of them, and so I would click on the profile, and lo and behold, it's all a bunch of anti-Trump stuff on their pages. So there was a lot of that political stuff going on. Now, there's also the teacher union or teacher quotient here. I know there are a lot of really good teachers who were very committed. I get that. But is this kind of a gradual effort to kind of reduce the workload of teachers? And also at that point,
teachers are on my side. When I first filed this bill, I thought, oh, brace yourself. You're going to hear from all the teachers, the assumptions like you're going to make me work. No, they called and they sounded so mad. And I was like, oh, here we go. You know why they're mad? Because my bill was K through 5, not K through 8.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
They were mad that I had 45 minutes in there instead of 0 minutes. Now, I had pushback from a middle school teacher, but now that he's seeing the science, I think he's coming around. But these teachers want to be in front of their classroom again. And it's a term that we use where teachers have become a guide on the side and computers have become the educator.
Yeah.
And that's what is failing. But here's the sad part. So the kids are failing, and then we yell at the teachers. And then we think, well, we better get rid of that teacher and put in more, reduce human error, get that kid on more laptops, gamify more of their math and reading, right? And then they fail, and then we go back and blame the teacher. This is where we need the teachers to stand up, and they are. If you look, it's the teachers are saying this has to happen immediately because the behaviors and the focus is bad, the learning is bad, and when you have bad behaviors in a classroom, the rest of those kids can't learn either. So they are seeing this decline because everything that we're doing goes against child development. And in fact, all of this was really started in the 80s and 90s from computer companies, foundations, and our federal government. And that's when they really started pushing this about 2010. And you can see the charts. About 2010, when Common Core and the push for tech started, it just kind of plateaued. And then as the years went on, it almost makes a 90-degree just drop. It just plummets the scores.
So it does appear, I mean, I would imagine, too, you're right with these teachers. I think part of the fun and thrill of being a teacher is having that human contact with the students and the eye-opening experiences they have when you're talking to them and those kinds of things. So it seems to me, and I was going to ask you then, who is pushing this. So let me guess then, when you talked about the computer industry and the government and other individuals, let me guess, this is something that comes out of some conference that an administrator attends or whatever, where they kind of...
No, this is worse than that. It's much more deviant than that.
Oh, really?
This started with IBM and the Carnegie Foundation. IBM desperately in the 80s needed a new set of consumers. And so that's when they targeted education. Then you look at Google, right? They invented the Google Chromebook, and they started giving those away. They started in the poorer districts, and they started feeding them the technology. What we did is we seeded generations of customers for Google and IBM.
Wow.
I'm waiting for the Netflix special on that.
I
mean,
know.
We literally, without any evidence, we all said, and I did it too. Like, trust me, I already talked about my kid. I thought when he was born, I was like, okay, I'm going to get ahead of this. I'm going to get an iPad. I'm going to have a bumper on it. I'm going to have ABC mouse. How many people have eighth graders that we were so proud to get our kids ABC mouse and do that instead of, regular television? And in the end, the science shows that just didn't create the knowledge that we needed for our kiddos.
Man, that is a thick plot right there, for sure. And now, was it everybody? Like, was it both political parties pushing this, or was it some kind of? I know 2010. We know who was there.
That should have started with Obama.
Yeah,
but I'm going to tell you. So I've been a Republican my whole life. Clearly, Obama's not. But I remember being, and I was in the tech industry, and so I remember thinking, yeah, well, of course, if a little kid knows how to use a computer, imagine how much more advanced they will be than I, right? But I had phonics and books and pen and paper. Do you know I have teachers telling me now they can't even get paper in their districts because their schools are claiming there's a paper shortage?
Oh, wow!
I had a parent reach out because their kid's iPad broke. And it was a week wait to get a new iPad, and her kid could not learn at all without that iPad because everything was there. We don't start asking around. You'll find out if you can really start asking these teachers in K through 8, a lot of them don't have access to books at all. That's why they're building schools without lockers.
Well,
really, look, if you have a school without lockers, they probably have a school without books.
Well, so the school without books element is just another way to kind of do the starvation type of diet so that they choose another way, right? You know what I mean?
Well,
like to not have the tools necessary to even get a book, you hit the computer, right? Or
right. So the books, the whole reason why they started this with the computers was to standardize kids so they could get to this data. And I just really don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Well,
we have the science, and her name is Dr. Mary Byrnes. She's the executive director of the Joint Committee on Education here in Missouri. And she started out with a white paper as she's gathering all this data, and we're working as a team. Like I said, it's a bipartisan team pulling all the data from all the universities and all these studies. And by the time she's done, there will definitely be a book that comes from this. Now, what I want people to realize they don't have to wait for the state to do the right thing. What they can do right now, there's Wentzville School District. I'm hearing now. I don't know if the superintendent knew about all of this yet because it sounds like it trickles up, right? Like so, it's a year to up their Chromebooks and stuff.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is for our third through fifth, they're trading out their Chromebooks for iPads, and that's going to be several $1 million to do that trade out. But here's one of the push we get from administrators. They're like, well, who's going to pay for all these books? And that's where I'm like, hey, guys, hold up. Before you go and replace Chromebooks with iPads, right, in 3 through 5, which just means when they go to middle school, you're then switching them back to Chromebooks, which might cause some problems if that's the drive you wanted to be on. But before you do that, look at the science because you may be better off, and I'm going to say you're going to be better off to use that money for textbooks because the last thing I want to hear is, well, we spent all our money on iPads now, so how are we supposed to get math books?
Right. Wow. Well, here's right, exactly. And I can't help, and we're talking with Representative Tricia Byrnes, and who has also a master's in education and has lived in the tech world as well. So, I mean, I think we need more people in public service like you, as opposed to people who've done nothing but public service in their lifetimes. But anyway, I can't help but think about this parallel track regarding adults because, and I'm talking about pushing them away. Like, I remember the days when, and this was in maybe the early 2000s and mid 2000s, even during Bush's time, where we kind of gave up on manufacturing. And those were the days where everybody was talking about learning to code. You got to learn to code, learn to code, learn to code. Forget about making dishwashers. You need to learn to code. Forget about being a plumber or electrician. Learn to code. And so it seems to me it was kind of like a parallel plot to kind of take some of the hands-on stuff out of our society and put it into something. Coding is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that. But it just seems like there was a steering going on there.
Right, a race to tech.
Yeah.
So since I was in the tech, so you got to think about it. I was actually, an employee of a large corporation during Y2K. I remember that. I was in the industry during the .com bubble. Then you get into the home bubble, right? So I'm always looking for the boom bust because I've seen the patterns happening. So some of this data thing, and I'm just going to get into the whole AI data centers and stuff. I just want people to be cautious. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it is, right? If there's a boom, like you're saying, now all these kids had to go out and learn coding, but now all of a sudden you didn't have anyone in the skilled trades. There you go, boom, bust. Make sure you have your foundations locked down. And that's what I'm trying to do. If these kids know how to read and write, when they get more advanced, they will be able to handle those more abstract thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to the world's greatest inventor, or the next programmer, or the best electrician that they need for that very difficult job. But if they can't understand how to read and write, and they're relying on cell phones to do the work, or they're relying on what we did today, which is to teach them how to cut corners, it is not going to serve them. And we're teaching them the wrong message, and we're using the wrong methods. And what I tell people is, we gave kids Chromebooks before they even had crayons.
Yeah. Wow. And problem-solving skills are really the foundation of any kind of success. And when you have machines actually doing it for you instead of you having to do it, I'm sure that's a dumber downer, that's for sure.
Well, and we can do that down the road. I'm not going to say I don't use ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what? I wasn't using an iPad when I was in, kindergarten through fifth grade.
No.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. All right.
Yeah, so, here's what I'll leave you with. The beta test is over. It's trying to bring back books.
And so you're confident this bill will pass, huh?
I am confident we have already changed the conversation in Missouri.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, that's great. And I'm so happy that you're doing it. And thank you for being on. Tricia Byrnes is also running. She's a state representative, and this is going to be all good in the State House, but she's also running. She's running for collector of revenue for St. Charles County. And she was on a while back about all that. So where can people see your efforts there?
Well, I'm really running what I'm doing right now in the Capitol and sharing my message on my Facebook page, which is State Representative Tricia Byrnes for St. Charles County Collector. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what I do is I identify problems, I gather people to discuss them, and we put solutions in place. Yeah. And I think right now we need me in the county collector's office. We need a taxpayer voice, and it's time to fix some systems there.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm so glad I ran across your post today because Tricia Byrnes is very prolific there on the Facebook page, which is great and good for us. And thank you for expanding our knowledge about this. Appreciate you.
Thank you. This is an important conversation. Thanks for having me on today.
No doubt about it. It's been a pleasure. There's State Representative Tricia Byrnes, who is also on Facebook as well. So check it out. Yeah, it was more than just about a snow day. It's a deeper problem, but man, that COVID time, I remember that because Aiden, who's 21 now, was through that. Some kids thrived learning by computer. Others didn't. They remember, a lot of them do, when the government and society failed them. Whole new generation of common sense warriors out there. And they're coming. They're coming. Thank God. It is 3 Martini Lunch. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime,
Everywhere.
anywhere.
Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting there. February 14th, is not too far away. It's Valentine's Day, and if you're into that kind of thing and you love gift giving, then Newsteaders Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty, Ferry, and Big Bend is an excellent place for you to go, because Diana and Anna and the rest of the gang are going to be able to turn you on to some really groundbreaking new kinds of hip jewelry. And again, these stacker rings, I talk about them every time I talk about Newsteaders because they're hugely popular and they're great price performers. They really do look great. I mean, they're fantastic. And the concept here is you buy a couple of them and then you kind of grow your collection of the stacker rings, and they stack on top of each other basically. And you can mix and match them, and you can pick different colors of gemstones and that kind of thing, and then change it with your outfit. It's just a fun little thing. Women are digging it, and your lady might dig it too. Don't forget too about the gold. They've got plenty of gold for you. Gold is in. It's back in style. For a while there, people were thinking it was 280s. No. It's brand new in terms of fashion and everything else. Gold is where it's at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. And of course, we call the website Wow Diamonds, wowdiamonds.com. There's a reason for that, because these diamonds are just crazy beautiful. Jackie Newstead is the one who came up with the idea of calling them Wow Diamonds, because every time you see the diamonds, it's like, wow. Doesn't matter whether they're the lab-grown diamonds or the mine diamonds. It's absolutely where it's at. And Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, hugely great on price and customer service. These are not just salespeople at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. They are jewelers. That's the important distinction. Don't forget, too, for the guys, the Frank Sinatra Bulova watch. These Bulova watches are super cool. They've got the classic Frank Sinatra Bulova watch and all kinds of other styles of Bulova watches, including some of the more active, skiing watches, all those kinds of things that are really super cool, super stylish, and super classy when it comes to watches. God is Welcome here is right above the door. They are truly the cat's meow. They are the real deal at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore with a reminder that for 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun. With their award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere, Harpo's is your one-stop destination. The mouth-watering menu has made them famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, they've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
Make your holiday special with Anthony's Produce, serving our community for over 28 years. Order fresh fruit and vegetable trays for work parties, family gatherings, and celebrations. Send chocolate-covered strawberries or a stunning fruit bouquet to someone you love. Plus, get seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery to keep your home cozy all winter long. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Order online at anthonysproduce.com or call 636-936-0496 on Jungerman Road in St. Peters.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here and Ashton right there. So, just in case you didn't despise the national media enough, I want to direct your attention to Casey Hunt, who is there at CNN, and she decided that she was going to suggest that people should be pointing guns at the Trump administration because the Trump administration has become tyrannical. All right, so we've been living under a tyrannical government for God knows how long under Democrats, and it's worse than even it was at the time of the British Crown, and we overthrew the Crown, as you know. But the government is far more oppressive now than it was even back then, and now suddenly it's defending or arresting illegal alien rapists is equal to tyranny.
I want to bring back a tweet from Charlie Kirk in 2018. He says this: the Second Amendment's not for hunting, it's not for self-protection. It is there to ensure that free people can defend themselves if, God forbid, government became tyrannical and turned against its citizens. And I think a lot of people are pointing to this because,
because you're awful. That's why. So, and interestingly enough, I don't know how you even get your hands around how dastardly that is, to decide that you're going to use the words of Charlie Kirk to defend taking up arms against people who are trying to arrest illegal alien rapists. Now, that is unbelievable, and you've really got to be, it's not just ignorance here, people. You have to be a really dark and manipulative and dishonest soul to twist it into that. Listen, I don't know what happened with that shooting, and even at the end, it still doesn't represent tyranny. Tyranny is our federal taxation. Tyranny is mass immigration. Tyranny is failing to defend your borders and letting people die at the hands of illegal aliens. Tyranny is trafficking humans so you can keep your political party afloat through election fraud. Tyranny is a bloated government supporting all your buddies. Tyranny is a bloated government supporting the military-industrial complex and taking money from us. Tyranny is taking money from people, misusing it, and also using it to undermine American society. That's what tyranny is, Casey. It's not an ICE officer arresting a rapey illegal alien. So, fixed it for you. Good afternoon. You guys have a good one. Tony Colombo and Company coming up next. Ashton, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. It's Common Sense Radio.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams.